So John the Baptist was executed by Herod Antipas. But the only reason why Herod executed John was because he was tricked by his wife Herodias. Herodias was not happy about crowds and crowds of people hearing John the Baptist declare that Herod and Herodias had broken God's law, pointing out that Herod and Herodias were sinners. Herodias was not happy about this. She was angry, I imagine furious about this. And so Herodias had a grudge against John the Baptist. She grew a great anger towards John the Baptist, so much so that she wanted him dead. And I imagine it's because she felt a sense of judgment from John the Baptist. And so Herodias felt a strong sense of judgment from John the Baptist. But I believe John the Baptist would have wanted Herodias to know that his desire was not to condemn Herodias. His desire was not for condemnation. His desire was for correction. John was preparing the way for the Lord. He was building people's expectation and anticipation for the coming of the Messiah. John was making it clear that the Messiah would come and judge the world with righteousness. So John was preparing the way for the Lord by prompting people to turn away from their sinful desires and turn towards the path of righteousness. John was prompting people to turn away from the path of their sinful desires, a path of destruction. And John the Baptist would have wanted Herodias to know that her personal choices, that her personal life decisions were not so personal. Her personal choices were not personal to her, because Herodias was married to Herod. Herodias was married to the ruler of Galilee and Perea. Herodias was in a position of influence, so her personal decisions could influence the lives of so many others in her region. So her personal decisions were not so personal. So if her personal choices were sinful choices, sinful decisions, then her sinful decisions could influence the lives of so many down the path of destruction. John is warning Herod and Herodias that their marriage is a reflection of the sinful desires of their heart, and our sinful desires will always lead us down a path of destruction. So Herod and Herodias are influencing the people of their region through their personal decisions, through their personal life decision. They are influencing the people in their region down a path of destruction. And John is prompting people to repent, to turn away from the path of destruction and turn towards the path of righteousness. And John is prompting people to turn towards the path of righteousness by building an expectation and anticipation of God's righteous one, of God's Messiah, God's righteous one, who was coming to the world to separate the righteous from the unrighteous. He would separate the wheat from the chaff. The chaff is the superficial outer layer of wheat that is easily blown away by the wind. It is weightless. It is worthless, meaningless. It has no value. It is worthless. It is easily blown away by the wind. So just as the farmer burns away the chaff, God's Messiah will burn away all the darkness in the world. The darkness that perpetuates the presence of evil. The darkness that perpetuates the presence of sin. So God must make this world a world of light. And in a world of light, there can be no darkness. This is what people would have been consumed by when they heard John the Baptist. Vivid descriptions that would have brightened people's minds and hearts with the coming of God's Messiah. This is what people were hearing when they heard John the Baptist. John's vivid descriptions of the coming of God's Messiah. When people heard John, they were brightened. They were brightened with expectation and anticipation for the coming of God's Messiah, who would burn away all the darkness in the world and make this world a world of light. People listening to John would have been consumed by this desire to turn away from the darkness and to turn towards God's light. But Herodias, she was consumed with feelings of being judged by John the Baptist. She felt condemned by the words of John the Baptist. John had publicly declared that her marriage was unlawful, and Herodias did not like the fact that crowds and crowds of people were perceiving her as a sinner. I believe she would have felt judged, condemned, and from this, there would have grown an anger in Herodias. And with this anger, she wanted John the Baptist dead.